Hey guys, this is Speaker Freak 95. Here's the Eminence, and we're going to tear it apart today. Before we do that, we're going to hear it one last time, and just to show you what it was doing. And on a small CS800, it looks big, but it's not that big really. 240 watts RMS at 8 ohms per channel, or 400 watts RMS at 4 ohms per channel. It's a decent amp though. We'll hook that up. It's actually already hooked up to this. I'm running the TV sound through it. But we're going to hook this up and show you the issue. Then we're going to go ahead and take it downstairs and tear it apart. Okay, just running a tone here. I'm going to go ahead and turn it out. I've got the mixer hooked up. I'm not even giving it any real wattage at all. Yeah, sloppy that's getting, and then it falls, and you can also bottom it out. We'll try that real quick. So yeah, let's try some bassy music here. Okay, quickly here, just playing some stupid bass music here. I do not own this song, and I do not like this song, but it's decent to show you what this problem is. Feed any real amount of wattage. It pushes out more than it pushes in. It's not an even amount. So it's having some issues. Still tries to work, but obviously the voice coil is still good. So there's obviously something wrong with this unit. Turn it down before I pop the breaker once again. Let's take that thing apart, this unit here, and rip all the old guts out of it. And let me do that quickly. Anybody seen a TOA mixer as awesome as this? I even have the manual for it. That'll be a future video, just like all of that stuff over there and everything else around here too. So, you know. These two as well, of course. Don't forget those. Brought to you by Random Intermittent Raining. And we're back at the shop. The thing's so big I had to move the camera back like 10 inches. So we're going to go ahead and remove the old parts. It's not that difficult, but it is part of the recone process. And I have multiples of certain models of speakers, and I don't do those. I do the ones that are completely different from everyone else. To make the most versatile, equal amount of videos of reconing and refilming, let me go with the tools. Because I don't feel like searching 10 years for my tools, because people use them, we're going to tear this thing apart with a carpet knife blade. I'm not going to save the cone, it's really not worth it. First, I'm going to have to cut the tinsel leads down here. I can get to that whenever I get to that point, but first, most painful part is chopping open a speaker that actually still works. But as you saw, it doesn't work that well, and obviously these things should work a lot better than that. Just for out of curiosity, I want to take a look at the voice coil. Ooh, what the heck? You see that? See if I can adjust the camera there. There's fiberglass all over this thing. Huh. That's definitely a first. Good thing I did that, because I wouldn't have known that there was fiberglass all inside this thing. It's even on the back of the dust cap. That's odd. Of course, I'll do the best I can to save the voice coil, because it's in good condition, obviously. That's a strange noise. Gosh, man. Hard to cut through this. It's very thick. Very thick. Very annoying. cut the tinsel leads Tinsel leads are cut. Now we're going to go ahead and move the camera. We're going to show down here, cut the spider. Because I don't want to fold the cone back because I could apply some serious amount of pressure on the voice coil, and I am going to try to save it for a future project. Or I could just fry it on video. Either way. Tinsel leads are cut. We'll talk about these connection terminal plates, and with Eminence, they don't solder them. They crimp them and they dot them with glue. They don't solder them, and the glue is quite a pain to deal with. But if you look closely, I don't know how well you can see that. This viewfinder leaves a lot to be desired, as in video quality. For some reason, I can't quite tell what I'm filming sometimes. But basically, you just want to cut it. It's pretty simple. This was an OEM driver, by the way, and the enclosure that I was going to get sold out, actually, so I went with it, just a regular ported enclosure, 7 cubic feet, ported, tuned for 40 hertz, exactly what this unit was tuned for, 40 hertz bottom frequency. Resonance frequency on these is 25 hertz, because it's so large. It's hard to get through here. But being such a big speaker, it's very simple. And it should come out. Oh, that voice coil's a little baked. That's not too bad, though. You can see the insulation just all over this. And the spider's supposed to sit straight, like right there, but it's sitting downward. And depending, like I said earlier, depending on position, being upward or downward, like downward or upward, it sits funny. The spider and the surround is so loose, it'll move, it'll sag like an electro voice 30-inch woofer, like you have to rotate them every year or so. It's what I had to do with this. I had to rotate it upside down and right side up every once in a while. Let's go ahead and take this, that's very easy to take off, actually. These videos are in standard definition. If they're a really long one, a really long-winded video like this would be in standard definition to help upload quicker. But yeah, that thing is, this obviously was in a box with, yeah, I'd hate to be near the port of this box when this thing was thumping. I've got asthma. Anything like that will tear me up. This unit was, like I said earlier, it came from a Ross Hurricane, which is a speaker that had 2 horn tweeters, a horn-loaded 8-inch mid-range, and a dual set of 18s. And I've never heard one in person, but I've always heard that they sound like crap. Just really boomy and not very accurate, due to being the woofer literally being a subwoofer 18. Because the bigger you get, the less accurate you get. That's why many people do not like 15-inch speakers in their tops, because they're less accurate than a 12-inch. And it's hard to explain why, but let's just go ahead and remove this edge here. But let me give you the proper tools so I don't hurt myself or the speaker. So I couldn't find any of my knives. They're all missing again. But you can just take a wood chisel and peel this up. You can go your own way about this. It's not very critical how you do it. Just remove this gasket piece by piece. We're not going to save it because it's missing chunks of the chip outer covering type. It's I call it chip. I think it's actually called chip. Chip's of like a rubber, like I don't know what it's made of, but it's like a cork material. But it's not like the JBL blonde cork material. It's black and it's got a rubbery texture to it. I'm not sure what it's made of, but obviously has good gasketing properties there. I like chisels. They're good. Try not to chip the frame too much. More for aesthetics than or looks or appearance than anything else, really. Paint job on it. I don't care much about that. It's going to be behind a thick cover, so you won't even see it, but you'll definitely hear it. This would be going into a mono subwoofer box, meaning just a single unit in a particular system. Tuned at 40 Hertz, of course. So what this is meant for is around 40 Hertz. Doesn't go much below that. Kind of odd though, because usually drivers this big will go all the way down to 25 Hertz, but that's the PA cutoff is around. I cut my system off on anything really, public venues, around 30 Hertz. Some people 40, some people even 50. But it doesn't matter. You're not going to really be able to need. You don't need to go that low, anyways, unless you're in a theater installation or something. Yes, you want to go that low. But I'm going to go ahead and peel this bottom layer of this off. It is painstaking and somewhat annoying, but it's one of the many fun things about reconing a speaker, is taking apart the old parts. I'm going to go ahead and get this top piece of cardboard removed, then we'll remove the surround and the glue. We'll also do the same thing down here and remove the wires from here. And that'll conclude part 2 of this recone project. Next part will be having the recone kit installed, just like the one on the JBL 2226. And some of the recone jobs will be drop-in kits, some of them will be individual piece kits like this, like the JBL 2226 was. So let me go ahead and remove these parts. Notice something quite interesting is the paint comes off rather easily. My grandmother laughing like crazy upstairs, but it comes off, if you're lucky, in one piece actually, the surround being the piece that holds it all together. Because obviously the cork gasket is in segmented pieces. Zoom a little bit so you can see that a little bit better. I'm really glad people are interested in watching videos. I've got a lot of these recones to do. A lot. Like over 50, seriously. I'll film most of them. Any of the duplicates, like multiples of a particular model driver, I won't film. I'll just film one of each model that I get in. But the drivers you see reconed right now, for the past few videos, are all my drivers. I'll even be videoing other people's recones. I don't do much for other people unless you specifically know me. But I'll be willing to help if you do need help. You don't want to produce too much metal shards yet, because this voice coil gap's wide open, but we'll clean it out anyways. But for now, just take a nice JBL dust cap right there and set it in the middle, just kind of to protect the gap from lots of debris. It won't protect from metal bits, that's why you don't want to produce a whole bunch using the chisel there. But that's basically what you want right here. Let me go ahead and clean off this whole entire frame real quick. And like I say, you gotta be careful. You don't want to chop your finger open. I'm not gonna show too much of that. It's pretty graphic. I'm gonna go bandage myself up and continue, but you gotta be careful and not slip, because you'll cut your finger wide open, especially with a very sharp chisel like this. I just hurt myself pretty badly, but I'm good. I'm better now, given the reason why you don't want to chisel like this. You go right to your finger. So you can do like this, or well, it's all your personal preference. I even got blood on my viewfinder. But let's continue on here. It's worth cutting your finger open a couple times. And Omega 18 is a serious woofer right here. This is an OEM version though, but the part number matches perfectly to a recone kit I found. So, and the cone looks exactly the same. So. All the measurements I took were the same as well, so the recone kit has to work. I actually don't know what this woofer is. It could be an Omega 18. It could be anything, but the parts are exactly the same size as the recone kit I found, and that's an Omega 18. So I'm just going to call it an Omega 18. It came out of a Ross Hurricane, and that's what everyone calls this thing, is the Omega 18, because pretty much is, but you've noticed one of the big things here is there's no rubber boot here, and instead of twist terminals or push terminals, we have regular solder terminals here, because this was an OEM, so it's probably the original cone kit was probably significantly different than what you get from a you know, if you ordered one of their publicly available models. And I contacted Eminence, and they gave me some proper information, and I'm pretty sure this recone kit that I got will work. If it doesn't, then even more reason to reuse the voice coil, because I can. The voice coil is good. All I do is take some solvents, and because the only thing that can really be different that can stop this recone is the voice coil difference. But the voice coil is in pretty good condition, a little fried here and there, but it still reads 8 ohms, and it's just perfect. There's no rubbing. It's not bent. It's perfect. There's not even any rub marks on it. So if I have to, I'll use the new cone, spider, and surround with the original voice coil. It wouldn't have been the first time I've done that. So, but there's really not much of a difference between this and the whole units. The Omega 18, you can buy the whole units. There's not much of a difference, except for the frame is significantly. This was an older version from the 90s. This is from 1996, and you can just go to Eminence Speakers page and figure out how to there's a little gray sticker here, and it tells you all the information. This is yeah, it's pretty simple. And now we're going to go ahead and remove the rest of the glue around the edge. It's pretty simple. This glue's kind of rubbery, so it just comes off. It's not. See, it just comes right off. I don't know how well you can see that, but just get rid of these little tidbits that'll prevent it from gluing properly. The paint coming off, you don't have to worry about that. It's not a problem. That's probably better that the paint was off in that section, because you're gluing directly to the metal instead of directly to paint that can come off. So people are screaming upstairs. I'm gonna go figure out what's going on here in a moment. So let me go do that. Everything's good. Figured out what the problem was. I'm going to go ahead and work on down here. It's pretty simple. Because kind of size restricted, can't fit too much down in here. We're going to go ahead and just peel this glue off the edge. You don't really have that. I'm not going to clean the glue directly off of this, because there's no need for it. It provides for a better bond, I found out. If you leave, because the spider is weave, it creates a bumpy corrugated material. Like if you look closely at this antique new old stock spider here, you can see the actual individual weaves it creates for a bumpy surface. And actually, when the glue's like that, it makes like for a dye or a mold or whatever you want to call it, and lets the glue sit in those little dips, and it does look better. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to clean it directly to the metal. Basically what I'm saying. If I'm making any sense with what I just said, please forgive me if I didn't. But kind of in a hurry to get this done. That's why I'm rushing it. And that's why I hurt myself. Don't rush yourself, people. And if there's any like large chunks of the spider left, like right here, I'll just clean that off. Definitely get rid of that, and large amounts of glue. But the residual glue here and up here doesn't really matter. It can stay. Some people are against it. Some people don't really care either way. Like me, it doesn't matter as long as it's glued and neatly. That's one of the biggest things I have with my recones. It's got to be neat. If it's not neat, I'll rip it apart and do it again. I'm going to go ahead and take a vacuum to it, clean it up, and do some final touches, and we'll remove these tinsel leads, and that rounds up part 2. Removing the old guts, and like I said earlier, keeping this voice coil in case the new one is different. But the size is I think it's exactly the same. So I think this is just an OEM version of a, or just an older model of the Eminence Omega 18. It's hard to tell, but the only models that even look like this and perform like this one does is an Eminence Omega 18. So, and that's what Eminence told me this was an OEM version of an Omega. So let me go ahead and vacuum this out and clean up this nice mess that this makes. I've cleaned the frame and we're almost finished. I have to take some tape and clean out the voice coil gap. You could just use electrical tape, that's what I use. So you just take it here. If you don't have a disabled finger like I do, it's a little bit easier. You take and you fold it. Well, you can do any way you want. You can fold it around a business card or whatever. I make a little triangle like that. And then run around in here to pick up all the little metal shards. You'll just see them standing up inside the voice coil gap. It's pretty easy to spot them. The smaller ones, you want to get those too. Of course, the bigger ones, you just don't want to. This didn't make much mechanical scraping or anything like that before then, so it's probably pretty clean, except for the exception of the nasty insulation everywhere, but that's okay. So you just want to do that, rub this tape around in there a few times, and if you look really closely, you can just barely see that. You pick up a lot of dirt, and sometimes even rust. Just a lot of mechanical particles that tend to accumulate inside this area during movement and use. And it's just a part of being a speaker. You get a lot of dust inside there. So. Just fold a triangle a little bit neater than that, but. Move it around a little bit to get it all the way down in there. Due to being the sticky side is out, it causes some issues sometimes. But you just want to run around in there until you get all the dust out, and then you want to run around in there again until you get all the mechanical particles out. The magnetic particles. I said mechanical earlier, sorry about that. Magnetic particles come from just off the frame, off of anything else, hardware, just because it's a giant freaking ceramic magnet, it'll pick up a lot of stuff. So make sure you pick up all that dust, and then once you're done, you just cover the voice coil gap until you're ready to open it. And even during sitting like this with tape on it, it does get dust inside there. So before you put the new coil in there, or put the original back in there, like I might have to do. Hopefully the new coil fits, because this old coil is a little baked, but it can still accumulate a little bit of dust in there, and even some magnetic particles. And sometimes the dust and magnetic particles can sit on top of the tape, and when you take it off, it falls back down in there. Very annoying, but it happens, and that means you'll have to do this process again. It's just a good habit to do this twice or even 3 times, just to make sure that there's no stray particles or debris inside there. You don't want that. Want to make sure that you cover absolutely every last section. Don't leave any gaps in here. And the tape, because this is very critical to make sure that the voice coil gap is nice and clean. I went ahead and applied a second layer of tape, just because I'm a little. I don't want dust to get inside there. It's just not what I want to happen. So please excuse the mess behind the basket, and we're going to focus on removing these wires here. And you can even reuse these. I don't, because these, especially in pro audio speakers, they get corroded and nasty and worn out. That's why I just chop them. I don't care. You might also notice that this doesn't have a sticker or anything on it, just the identification tag here above the terminal plate. So if you look really closely, they didn't actually glue this, they crimped it up here, and they just dotted it with glue. It makes it very annoying to have to repair, but it's, I don't know why they do that. But you just want to widen those up. Don't know if you can see that. Just like that. You actually just pull them out just like that. This glue has some give to it. And being a rubbery material, it all goes away at one piece normally. Unless it's fried by a soldering iron in this case. But we'll solder it next time. Just like that. Just want to get this material off of there. Clear the hole. Clean it out. Don't knock over the orange cream soda. Someone was a little messy with this one. This being screwed on, it'll actually come off. You could probably just take it off and work on it remotely if you were so inclined like I am. Not all of these are screwed on, some of them are riveted. This also leads to being an OAM speaker. More of their commercial, more widely known series usually are riveted or glued on. Just depends. But that just unscrews, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and remove the rest of the material. If you look closely, it's put back on there, and sorry. Dang, my control on my camera needs cleaned again. But I cleaned that out, ready for soldering, and I'll crimp it up here and solder it up there too. And that's about it for this part. We've cleaned the spider landing, which is right here. We've cleaned the edge landing, or just the edge of the frame. And it's ready for a recone kit to be installed. Thanks for watching. This is part 2. Part 3 will be the recone kit part. Turn it down before I pop the breaker once again. Let's take that thing apart, this unit here, and rip all the old guts out of it. And let me do that quickly. Anybody seen a TOA mixer as awesome as this? I even have the manual for it. That'll be a future video, just like all of that stuff over there and everything else around here too, so, you know. These two as well, of course, don't forget those. Brought to you by Random Intermittent Raining. And we're back at the shop. Hey guys, this is Speaker Freak 95. Here's the Eminence, and we're going to tear it apart today. Before we do that, we're going to hear it one last time, and just to show you what it was doing. And on a small CS800, it looks big, but it's not that big really. 240 watts RMS at 8 ohms per channel, or 400 watts RMS at 4 ohms per channel. It's a decent amp though. We'll hook that up. It's actually already hooked up to this. I'm running the TV sound through it. But we're going to hook this up and show you the issue. Then we're going to. The thing's so big I had to move the camera back like 10 inches. So we're going to go ahead and remove the old parts. It's not that difficult, but it is part of the recone process. And I have multiples of certain models of speakers, and I don't do those. I do the ones that are completely different from everyone else. To make the most versatile, equal amount of videos of reconing and refilming, let me go with the tools. Because I don't feel like searching 10 years for my tools, because people use them. We're going to tear this thing apart with a carpet knife. Go ahead and take it downstairs and tear it apart. Okay, just running a tone here. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it out. Got the mixer hooked up. I'm not even giving it any real wattage at all. Yeah. Sloppy that's getting, and then it falls, and you can also bottom it out. We'll try that real quick. So yeah, let's try some bassy music here. Okay, quickly here. Just playing some stupid bass music here. I do not own this song, and I do not like this song, but it's decent to show you what this problem is. Feed any real amount of wattage. It pushes out more than it pushes in. It's not an even amount. So it's having some issues. Still tries to work, but obviously the voice coil is still good. So there's obviously something wrong with this unit.